She laughed at my food, in front of everyone, and when I looked at my son, he looked away. That was the moment something inside me cracked. Not loudly, not dramatically, just a thin, silent fracture across 30 years of motherhood. My name is Kavita Rao. I am 60 years old, a widow for 11 years. A woman who built her entire identity around one title, Arjun's mother. That evening was supposed to be special. Ria's parents were visiting for the first time after the wedding. She insisted we host dinner at my house. Our house, she corrected me that morning with a smile that felt rehearsed. I woke up before sunrise. Cooking calms me. It always has. When my husband died of a sudden heart attack, I survived by staying busy. I stitched clothes. I tutored children. I cooked for neighbors to earn extra money. Every spice in my kitchen carries a memory. That day, I cooked like I was cooking for respect. Fresh paneer, slow-cooked dal, jeera rice, soft rotis puffed directly on flame, gulab jamun soaked in warm syrup. Arjun's childhood favorites. I wore a simple silk sari, light makeup. I even lit candles on the table. By 7 in the evening, the house was full of voices, perfume mixed with the smell of cardamom. Ria entered like she owned the air. Smells. Intense, she said, wrinkling her nose slightly. I ignored it. We all sat down. Plates were served. I waited. That small, anxious waiting mothers do when their children taste something they made. Ria picked up a spoon. She tasted the dal, paused, her eyebrows lifted. Then she laughed, sharp, loud, unapologetic. "Oh my God," she said, glancing at her parents. "This is exactly what I was telling you about." My heartbeat stumbled. "What happened?" her mother asked. Ria shook her head, smiling. "Nothing. It's just so heavy, so oily. Who even eats like this anymore?" Silence spread across the table like spilled water. I felt heat rise to my face. Arjun shifted in his seat. "Ria prefers lighter food," he said casually. "Mom cooks very traditional." "Traditional," said like a warning label. Ria continued, not lowering her voice. "Honestly, Arjun, I don't know how you survived on this for years." A few awkward laughs came from her side. My fingers tightened around my glass. I looked at my son. "Say something, just one sentence." But he kept his eyes on his plate. I forced my lips into a smile. "I've cooked this way for 35 years, I said softly. Ria shrugged. "Times change, Mom." "Mom," it sounded like a performance. She took another bite and grimaced dramatically. "We should have just ordered from Urban Spice. At least that food is balanced." Balanced. As if love needed measuring cups. The humiliation wasn't just in her words. It was in her confidence. She wasn't embarrassed. She wasn't cautious. She was comfortable. Comfortable insulting me in my own house. The rest of dinner blurred. Compliments from my relatives felt hollow. I could feel people avoiding eye contact with me. The room had shifted. I was no longer the host. I was the outdated object in the corner. After dessert, Ria tapped her spoon against her glass. "We actually have an announcement," she said brightly. My chest tightened. Arjun stood beside her. "We've decided to move to Dubai next year," she continued. "It's better for our future." Polite applause. Then she delivered the second blow. "So we'll need to sell this house." The words landed like a slap. My ears rang. "Sell this house?" "The house my husband built brick by brick. The house I paid off alone after he died. The house where Arjun took his first steps." Ria leaned back in her chair confidently. "It's too big for one person anyway, and it's prime property. We'd get an amazing price. We. Not you, not me, we." Arjun cleared his throat. "Mum, we were going to talk to you about it. Going to." I felt something strange then. Not anger, clarity. This wasn't random, the mocking, the public embarrassment. It was positioning. Make me small first, then make decisions over me. I swallowed slowly. You've already decided? I asked quietly. Ria nodded. It just makes sense. You can stay with us there. Of course. Stay with us. Like luggage. I looked around the table. Everyone was watching, waiting for my reaction, for tears, for pleading. My hands were cold, but my voice didn't shake. I see, I said calmly. Ria relaxed slightly. She thought I was surrendering. She thought humiliation had broken me. But pain has a strange way of sharpening the mind, because while she was busy laughing, I was remembering. Remembering the day after my husband's funeral when I sat alone in a bank office. Remembering the legal advice I took. Remembering the papers I signed quietly, without telling anyone. I stood up slowly. I think, I said softly, before we discuss selling anything, we should clarify something important. Ria frowned slightly. What do you mean? I looked directly at her, and for the first time that evening, I smiled. Not politely, not weakly, but knowingly. Because this house, I said, pausing just long enough for the room to lean in, isn't what you think it is. The air shifted. Ria's smile faded, just a little. Arjun looked confused, and in that moment, for the first time that night, they realized something. I wasn't as powerless as they believed, and what I was about to reveal was going to change everything the moment I said, "This house isn't what you think it is." The air in the room changed. Ria's smile froze. Arjun blinked. Mom, what are you talking about? I didn't answer immediately. Silence is powerful. I've learned that over the years. Instead, I walked slowly to my bedroom. I could feel their eyes on my back. I knew Ria was whispering something to Arjun, probably asking what I meant. Good. Let them feel uncertain. Inside my room, I opened my old steel locker. The metal door creaked softly. I took out a brown file, the one I had kept untouched for years. I held it for a moment. This wasn't just paper. It was protection. When my husband died, relatives came with sympathy in their eyes and calculation in their minds. I saw it back then. That's when I decided something. I would never be dependent. Not on family, not on my son, not on anyone. I walked back to the dining room, placed the file on the table. Ria straightened in her chair. What is this? Truth, I replied calmly. I opened the file and took out the property deed. This house, I said slowly, clearly, has been legally transferred into my name for 11 years. Arjun frowned. Mom, I thought Papa left it. He did, I said gently, but I re-registered it, fully, sole ownership. Ria's expression shifted slightly, not panic yet, but calculation. Well, she said carefully, eventually it would come to Arjun. I looked at her. Eventually, I repeated, if I decided so. The room felt smaller now. Her father cleared his throat. Of course, legally it's yours, but family decisions are collective. Collective. Interesting word. Was humiliating me collective? I asked quietly. The silence after that question was heavy. Ria's jaw tightened. Mom, that's not what this is about. No? I tilted my head slightly. She shifted in her seat. We're just thinking practically. I pulled another document from the file. And so was I. I placed it on the table. Arjun leaned forward. What is that? A registered trust deed, I said. Ria's fingers trembled slightly as she read the top line. Her eyes widened. You created a trust, she whispered. Yes. 3 months ago. Long before tonight, long before the dinner, long before she decided to test how far she could push me. Arjun looked confused. Why? I met his eyes. Because security matters. Ria's voice sharpened. Security from what? From this exact conversation, I replied calmly. The room went still again. I let them absorb it. The trust was simple. After my death, the house would not automatically transfer to Arjun. It would go to a women's housing foundation, a safe shelter for widows abandoned by their families. I had met those women. I had seen the fear in their eyes. The same fear I felt the day after my husband died. Ria's voice dropped to a whisper. You're joking. I never joke about property, I said. Her mother looked stunned. But that means, yes, I finished. This house cannot be sold without my approval. And after me, it won't belong to you. The confidence drained from Ria's face slowly, like colour leaving a painting. Arjun stood up. Mom, why would you do something like this without telling me? I looked at him steadily. Why would you plan to sell my house without telling me? His mouth opened, closed, no answer. Ria stood up now too. Her voice was controlled, but her breathing had changed. So this is punishment? No, I said softly. This is precaution. She laughed nervously. You're overreacting because of one joke about food? One joke. That's what she called it. I leaned forward slightly. It wasn't about food. She held my gaze. It was about respect. Her father tried to intervene. Let's not escalate. No, I said firmly. Let's clarify. I turned to Arjun. Did you know about this plan to sell the house before tonight? He hesitated. Yes. The word hit harder than Ria's laughter earlier. You discussed it? I asked. He nodded slowly. And you thought humiliating me in front of everyone would make it easier? I asked quietly. That's not fair, Ria snapped. Isn't it? I replied calmly. Her mask cracked then. Fine, she said sharply. Yes, I think this house is wasted on one person. Yes, I think selling it makes sense. And yes, I think you're being emotional. Emotional. That word used to dismiss women for centuries. I smiled faintly. You're right, I said. I am emotional. She blinked, surprised. Because I built this home from grief, I continued. I paid every installment. I repaired every wall. I raised my son here alone. I paused. And tonight you tried to reduce it to an asset. Her eyes flickered. I could see it now, fear. Not because she loved the house, but because she saw control slipping away. Arjun ran a hand through his hair. Mom, we just wanted to upgrade our life. Then upgrade it, I said softly, with your own effort. That landed. Ria's voice lowered. So what now? You'll just sit here alone forever? Alone. She thought that word would scare me. But loneliness stopped frightening me years ago. I won't be alone, I said calmly. I'll have dignity. The tension in the room thickened. Ria stepped closer to the table. Change the trust, she demanded softly. We're family. I looked at her steadily. Family doesn't publicly humiliate each other. Her eyes glistened slightly now. Anger mixed with desperation. You're choosing strangers over your own son? No, I said quietly. I'm choosing self-respect. The guests were frozen. No one spoke. The power dynamic had completely shifted. 2 hours ago, she controlled the room. Now she was the one losing ground. Arjun's voice softened. Mom, we didn't mean to hurt you. But he had stayed silent when it mattered. Silence is a choice. And tonight, he chose her. I closed the file gently. This conversation isn't over, I said, but understand something clearly. I looked directly at Ria. You tried to make me feel small before taking what you thought was yours. Her breathing quickened. You miscalculated. Her confidence shattered further. But, I added calmly, there's one more thing you should know. Ria's eyes flicked up. What? She whispered. I met her gaze without blinking. This trust isn't the only document I signed, and that was the moment real fear entered her eyes, because she realized I had been planning much longer than she ever imagined, and whatever she thought she was controlling was already far beyond her reach. The moment I said, "This trust isn't the only document I signed," the room stopped breathing. Ria stared at me. Arjun looked confused. "What other document?" he asked slowly. I didn't rush. I opened the file again and took out a thinner envelope. "For the past year," I said calmly, "I've been restructuring everything." Ria's voice was tight. "What does that even mean?" "It means," I replied, "I no longer run this house like a sentimental widow. I pulled out bank papers, investment transfers, fixed deposits, rental agreements." Arjun frowned. "Mom, why didn't you tell me you were investing?" "Because," I said softly, "you stopped asking about my life a long time ago." Silence. I continued. "Or wedding, I noticed something. The small comments. The jokes about old furniture. The way Ria would ask about property values instead of asking how I was." Ria's face flushed. "That's not true." "It is," I said gently. "You asked me 3 times in 2 months how much this house could sell for." Her lips parted. She hadn't expected me to remember. "I remember everything." "I decided to protect myself," I continued, "so I divided my savings, half into a secure retirement fund, half into commercial property." Arjun blinked. "Commercial property?" "Yes." I placed another document on the table. "The ground floor of this house has been legally converted." Ria grabbed the paper. Her hands trembled. "It's registered as a culinary studio," she whispered. "Yes." Her head snapped up. "What?" I held her gaze. "For the past 6 months I've been conducting small cooking workshops here, quietly, 3 days a week." Arjun looked stunned. "Mom, you never told us. You never asked." I could see realization dawning slowly. "I partnered with a women's cooperative," I continued. "We film traditional recipes. We sell spice blends. We have online orders." Ria shook her head. "That's impossible." "No," I said calmly, "it's profitable." Her father leaned forward. "How profitable?" I slid the income statements toward them. The numbers were clear, steady, growing. "This house," I said softly, "is not an outdated kitchen. It is a registered business." Ria's breathing changed. Her eyes moved across the papers. "Income, brand registration, advance bookings. Urban Spice offered me a collaboration last month," I added quietly. That name hit her. She had mocked my food by comparing it to them. "They want a traditional menu line under my name," I said. The silence was thick. Arjun stared at me like he didn't recognize me. "You built all this without telling me?" I smiled faintly. "You were busy upgrading your life." Ria stepped back slightly. "But if this is a business, then selling the house would shut it down," I finished. Her face drained of color. "This was never just about emotional attachment. This was about ownership, independence." She swallowed hard. "You did all this because you didn't trust us?" "No," I said calmly. "I did it because I trusted my instincts." I leaned forward slightly, and tonight proved me right. Her voice cracked for the first time. "You're punishing us." "No," I repeated gently. "I'm surviving you." Arjun ran his hands through his hair again. "Mom, we didn't know." "That's the problem," I said quietly. "You didn't know, because you stopped caring." The guests were silent witnesses now. The power dynamic had fully shifted. Ria, who entered the evening laughing, now looked small. "But we're your family," she whispered. I looked at her steadily. "Family does not publicly humiliate the person who fed them." Her eyes filled with tears, real tears, not dramatic ones. "I didn't mean it," she said weakly. "It was just a joke." Then why, I asked softly, did you wait until everyone was watching? She had no answer. Because it wasn't an accident. It was positioning. Arjun's voice was softer now. Mom, what do you want? That question. Finally. Not what will you give. What do you want? I closed the file slowly. I want respect, I said. Silence. Not sympathy. Not control. Not forced co-living arrangements. Respect. Ria stepped forward suddenly. Her voice broke. I'm sorry. The word trembled. I shouldn't have said those things. I was wrong. Tears slipped down her cheeks. 2 hours ago she laughed at my food. Now her mascara was smudged, her voice shaking. I didn't think, she whispered. No, I said gently. You didn't. She looked at the documents again, realizing something else. If this house was a business, if it was legally protected, if it was in a trust, then she had miscalculated completely. Not only could she not sell it, she couldn't even influence it. Arjun looked devastated. Mom, do you not trust me at all? I held his gaze. I trust the man you used to be. That hurt him. I saw it. And that's why I continued calmly. I'm giving you a choice. Ria looked up quickly. A choice? She whispered. Yes. I took out one final document. A partnership proposal. They both froze. I am expanding the culinary studio, I said. Online courses, franchise opportunities, traditional food with modern branding. Ria blinked in disbelief. I need someone who understands digital marketing, I continued. Someone educated, ambitious. Her lips parted slightly. If you want to build a future, I said softly, build it with me, not over me. The room was completely silent. But understand this, I added, my voice firm now. This house will never be sold for convenience, and my dignity will never again be a joke. Ria broke down fully then, not dramatically, but quietly. She stepped toward me. I was insecure, she admitted through tears. I wanted to prove I was smarter, more modern. I didn't realize I was being cruel. I watched her carefully. Tears can be manipulation, but sometimes their realization. Arjun looked shattered. I failed you tonight, he said. Yes, I replied, short, honest. He nodded slowly. I'm sorry, I let the silence sit. Because apologies feel different when they're not rushed. Ria wiped her tears. I don't deserve partnership, she whispered. That depends, I said calmly, on what you choose to become from this moment. She looked at me like she was seeing me for the first time, not as an obstacle, not as an outdated cook, but as a strategist, a woman who rebuilt her life twice, first after losing her husband, second after losing her illusion about her son. The guests slowly excused themselves, whispering quietly. The dinner that began with laughter had ended in transformation. When the house was finally empty, Ria approached me again. Her voice was small. Can you teach me? She asked. Teach you what? How to cook like that? I studied her face. She wasn't mocking now. She was humbled. Cooking is easy, I said softly. Respect is harder. She nodded. Tears slipped again. 2 hours earlier she laughed at my food. Now she stood in my kitchen, asking to learn. And that was the real shift. Not the property, not the trust, not the business. Power had moved. Quietly, permanently. I turned toward the stove. Wash your hands, I said calmly. She obeyed. And as she stood beside me, silent and attentive, I realized something important. Revenge is not always about destroying someone. Sometimes it's about making them see you clearly. And that night, she finally did.